that saying is not in its entirety. The full saying or the actual quote, the original goes as follows: the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The saying means that chosen bonds are more significant than the bonds with family or the water of the womb. I know I'm flipping it a bit. It's family month, but stay with me. I'm leading up to a point. So when it comes to family, it's not just the people that are related to you by blood, because sometimes those that are closest to you can also, deal with you in a way that will make you think, hey, is this person really my relative? Yeah. So as we celebrate Family Month, let's also bear into mind the family that we also create. Even in the workplace, after a while, you sort of become a family. You create bonds that sometimes you have, a friend at work, you're always working late, you're in the newsroom with them. They start to know more about you sometimes than even your own family. So family does come in different forms. The family you have that you're related to by blood, you don't get a chance to choose them. That's your designated.
That's been dashed to you.
This one designated
from nature God, fresh.
That's, you come out and they say, this is your father, this is your mother.
Yes.
This, you don't have a say
you
in it.
You can't have ex-father and ex-mother.
Some are lucky that they are designated, appointed, spiritually appointed family, is able to have that bond with them for life. And others have to create that and find that, also without that spiritual designation. So we celebrate all kinds of families. Those that have had to create families out of necessity because maybe they are without family, no mom, no dad. We celebrate all forms of family this month.
Okay, we're celebrating family, and let's know what your own thoughts are about family, the family system. William, it takes us to family values. Growing up in a home, does it influence the kind of values that you have?
Yes, the human being is made up of nature and nurture. The nature and nurture dynamics will always play out in your upbringing. We come down from the womb wired. That is nature. And then the way you are nurtured also contributes to how you turn out as a human being, your experiences. And so for me, the home is very important. That's why sometimes I get sad when marriages are breaking up these days, when relationships that could end up in marriages are ending up in homicides and stuff like that. It's a very dangerous thing, because the family, or if you like, marriage is a good place to have children. I mean, you can have children out of marriage, that's fine, but it is when mommy and daddy are together with your siblings, the love that you get from the beginning will show in the end. Because everything that you do to a child, the psychosocial theories will tell you that however the child is groomed, nurtured from the beginning, it will show in the end.
Right.
So a lot of the times when social workers want to even assess a criminal, what they do is they put something they call the echo map.
Right.
They draw a circle and put you in the middle. They put all these factors around the circle. How is your relationship with your father?
Okay.
Your relationship with your mother? There's a mathematical way of even calculating it, so that if it's a father-son relationship is good, it's a straight line. If it's bad, zigzag. If it's straight, you get 100%. If it's zigzag, you get 50%. So they can calculate and say, like, look, out of the 100% situation,
this is why
you are lacking. So then they begin to give you counseling. So the counseling, sometimes you don't even have to hear. You can see the way your mom treats your dad, the way your dad treats your mom. The open show of love. You marry, and for us as human beings, we either repeat or we resent. So you see that somebody's father is like this, he's also like this. His father is like this, but he will resent. So these are dynamics that the family provides the individual when they're growing up. And one thing that I also want to put down, and I'm going to submit this morning, is that the way the world is going today, we are losing the extended family system because of the pressures of the modern world
economy.
So what we need is not the dollar or the pound, which are very heavy in terms of value, in terms of currency, but the currency that everybody needs now is the social network. Your social network today can determine your social net worth. So that at the end of the day, what kind of life you lead will depend on who you have. You can build a house as a young man if you want to, not necessarily with the kind of cash you have in your pocket.
And still feel lonely.
So whatever you want to do, relationships matter. In the office, in the church, even on wherever you find yourself, try and mend relationships, and make sure that whatever it is, your attitude towards the fellow human being is positive, because at the end of the day, that's family for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Helen, values?
It's important to, again, what William was saying is that extended family has a lot of value, because in the absence of maybe mommy, daddy not being there, you have older siblings, cousins, aunts and uncles who can instill the proper values in you, the things that you learn: sharing, caring, being respectful, all the types of values that you transplant into other areas of your life. And then they say, hey, we're yeah, you go out into the world and your family members are proud to be associated with you. Yes, it's a big flex, as the kids say these days. You know, to have family members who are representing you well out there. You are proud. You can't wait to even say, hey, that's my uncle, that's my, others too. You know, you try not to say, you try not to shout too much. Some of them are misbehaving. You can't even associate with them because you don't even. Isn't that your uncle?
They ask you which of the Apia Ampofus.
Yes, from which house?
From which house? From which house? And those questions come. So that I experienced living in both ways: nuclear family, and then living in cantonments with a lot of my cousins and uncles would pass through. And I remember never feeling alone. I always felt that if there was, I felt like I was invincible, that I would never have any problems because there were people always around me. And I still feel that way, even now where I don't live with a single cousin. I always say this: I have exactly 100 cousins, all alive. Glory be to God. And that gives me confidence that no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. I never have to worry. And that's the value of the extended family. I know a lot of people who find it quite strange that I am in touch with at least 65 of these cousins. I know them by name. We get together a few times in a year. We had a big family reunion in 2019. We went to my granddad's hometown, went to learn about him, his history. We traced our footsteps. And I know for all of us, the Apia Dankwas, it was such a memorable and exciting time to trace back your steps, to get to your origins. It's invaluable, that feeling of belonging. So that's what we're celebrating this family month.
Apia Dankwa, is that not a Trotro bus stop? Dansoman.
Is that?
You didn't know?
I didn't, please. No connection, please.
Oh no,
Mr.
He was a big man. No, he was a big man in Dansoman.
No, this is a different Apia Dankwa.
You don't want to be associated with.
This one is an Apia Dankwa from Akwitia. He was a teacher.
Can you imagine that
please.
You have
21
like
kids.
Your great grandfather's home is a bus stop now?
Oh no, but it's a different. I can't take credit. I can't take
One
credit.
thing that you mentioned, it's brought up something that I discussed with somebody a couple of weeks ago. You see, the family dynamics. The family is, let me put it literally, is sweet when everybody in the family is positioned properly, socially, economically. But when there's poverty in the family, there's bickering. I know a family, there was, a funeral in the family. And the children and the cousins were literally, to put it interesting, they were fighting over what to do because the money day. I'll buy the coffin, I'll buy. But in some families, the fight is negative.
Yes.
We have to catch this
once
thing.
there's funeral in a family and there's no money, even after the funeral, some people don't talk for life. So as fathers, as mothers, we should try and position our children so that when they grow, they will also have some wherewithal to go around the simple things of life. Because when we don't do that and we exit, we leave chaos. Because if you have 4 children, you have put up one house with 5 bedrooms. Or 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. You have so many. How did they go about it? Then these things. But when you plan, you say, look, this is my job. I know I can put up a house and divide it into 2. I have 2 children. Then you leave peace behind.
So there's no chaos and rancor behind you. When you're gone.
Families, when the fathers die or the parents die, then the children now are at loggerheads because of property. But if you have your own house, you have your own job, can you imagine some of the families when there's a funeral? Oh, Massa, it is so beautiful. And they don't cry.
They actually have a home that they have preserved and left.
These are real things.
So
also,
people who go to the village can actually get somewhere to sleep. Let's say you're from Asim Fosu, you're coming from Cape Coast, you get to Fosu Junction, you have a tire problem or vehicle problem, you just branch off. And there's a room waiting for you where you can go and cool off.
You don't have a car, you call your cousin, Charlie, can I come and take the Benz? But where there's so much rancor is because of the fact that we, especially the fathers, we don't plan. Especially in the kind of jobs we do, everywhere we go, we piss.
2 minutes after 8 here on 3FM 92.7. I've been joined on the phone line by a consultant and a life coach. for the Hearts and Habits Foundation, Amos Kevin Annan. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, good morning, my brother. How are you?
I am greater than Accra.
Oh, that's nice.
We're talking family today because the month of May is our family month on 3FM 92.7. First of all, what would you define as a family?
Well, thank you very much. There is a standard definition of a family, which could either be defined on the basis of adoption, biological reproduction, or sometimes by association. So you would talk about people who have some form of commonality between them, which may be based on values, may be based on tradition, may be based on blood, or may be based on interest. So for instance, you can have people who have what we call religious family, and that is based on their relationship based on faith, matters of faith. You can have people who have sports family, or sometimes they use words like fraternity. So the concept of family would always highlight a common strand that connects people. So the family of nations, the common strand will be that they are all nations.
What should the family mean to us individuals? And I'm asking this because of the changing fortunes of time. We knew about the extended family, we knew about the nuclear family. These days, what should it mean to an individual when they say family?
Well, about 3 years ago, I came up with an acronym which I have used both locally and globally. And I took the word family and highlighted 6 critical ingredients of anything you would call family. And if you indulge me, I can share that.
Go ahead, please.
The first one, which is the F, is faithful friendships. One of the things you can trust in a family is an unalloyed commitment to each other. And you would see that individuals within families show that they will be there for you. I heard one of your speakers mention that your cousins will be there and all that. It's a very deep part of family nurturing and sustenance. They are faithful. You can trust that they will be there for you. In good times and in bad times, family members will be there. That's why you could have a friend who literally becomes part of your family, either by adoption or by association. Now, the A is affirmation of one's worth. Your true value is seen in your family, not in any other group. It is the reason why you may have heard of the famous account statement, Ebusia Pefunu. To wit, family adores the dead. Why? Because when somebody dies, the family would suddenly, if you think the person was a useless character, quote and unquote, adversedly used, let that person fall right now and you find that the family will show up. There's a negative side to that construct, but the positive side is that nobody is useless. In fact, I participated in a seminar recently on property and marriage and divorce and all that. And the person who was facilitating said that by the laws of Ghana, there's no child called illegitimate child.
Yeah.
And I found that quite striking. So the affirmation of a person's worth is seen. I mean, I remember those days when we were playing gutter to gutter, small post. You see somebody was drunk. Then suddenly somebody will come and say, oh, no offer. Then you see them carry this person tipsy, tiptoeing and moving all the way. They take them home, clean them, and keep them. He's a drunk. We see him with scorn and disdain, and yet the family sees his value as an individual. So affirmation of one's worth is very much connected to the concept of family. The M, mean well at all times. I mean, family members will hurt you, but they don't hurt you with the intention to destroy you. Unless, of course, they are mean character, unless, of course, they have an axe to grind with you. But those are exceptions. They will be the outliers. Otherwise, family members mean well. And this is how I explain it. They hurt you to heal you. They speak tough to you. They tell you what nobody else can tell you. I mean, for instance, I share it somewhere that one day we were asleep and then suddenly my wife tapped me and said, "Ato, who snore?" I said, "Really? Snore thing?" I mean, I've been to seminars, conferences, I've been to all sorts of meetings, campus sleeping. Nobody has ever told me that you snore. But here I have a family, a wife, who told me, looked me in the eye and told me something nobody else can tell me. So families mean well, but sometimes they hurt you to heal you. The I in family is interdependent exchanges. In a family, what you find is that the right will base the left and the left will base the right. There are exchanges that are interdependent. They are interrelated, interconnected. And that is family. Give and get, give and get, give and get. It's not a one-line source providing, but it's that community of care.
Okay.
The L, leaning on each other. We can sing lean on me outside, but the real lean on me is in the home, is in the family, is within that structure called family, whether it's nuclear or extended family. They all provide you those kinds of spaces. And the last one is yearning to be together. And I find that quite, exciting. Why? Because, look, they say there's no place like home. You can have home away from home, but the home, which is the real home, when you get there, you know that. One guy said that, I made me coffee is stupid. Can you imagine? He had heard this stupid word and he thought it was a very good word. So he was insinuating to people that, you don't value me here, but when I go home, I'm regarded as stupid. And he thought stupid was a very positive virtue. So, my brother, we need people to be faithful around us. We need people who affirm our words. We need people who mean well at all times. We need people we can interdependently exchange with them. You see, you cannot be independent in an interdependent setting. Today, it's one of the saddest commentary I hear people because they want to self-actualize. Of course, majority of us who went to uni have learned about Maslow's theory of needs, and the hierarchy there is self-actualizing. So people want to self-actualize, and that's fine. But there's an extreme when it is taking, it vitiates away the value of working together with our others. And we want to lean on each other, and it is in the family, in the home, where you get these things. And then also, yearning to be together. You travel and you're looking forward to coming back home. I did some projects in Haiti, and in Port-au-Prince, we had a big facility to cater for these street boys and girls. And then suddenly, we realized that we were running back onto the streets. So a friend of mine, based in the U.S., were contracted by the Swedish organization that was running these facilities to go and investigate why these young people, because in the facility, they had television, they had mothers to care for them, only for us to get there. Guess what we discovered?
What did you
These boys have moved from the shelter and had only a chip box and sleeping at bus terminals, and they like that more than sleeping in the shelter.
Why? What was happening there?
The reason is that the concept of home is an atmosphere, not a structure. They didn't feel homely in the structure, so they moved onto the street again. And guess what? There was somebody there who was abusing them. Not sexually, but physically, and then emotionally and verbally. And so these young boys and girls had to move back onto the street. So we had to actually, after our discovery, they had to actually part company with that particular woman. It was unfortunate because she was the best hand at the time we had hired in the facility. So it's important that people have that concept of family where they can feel belonging, where they find assurance. I'm sure you may have heard of the book title, The Child Called It.
Yes.
That guy has written many, many other volumes of books. A very, very good author. And his story is telling. But can you imagine you being called it? When the Convention on the Rights of the Child says that every child deserves a name, and in that name there is identity, and that identity has its roots in the home. And in the home, that's where families are found. So you can have the drinking bar becoming somebody's home. Because when he's there, he feels a sense of belonging. That is where he's affirmed and valued as a human being. So at 3FM and TV3, somebody will find that place a home and wouldn't want to go back to his house. So I always tell parents there is a house which is a structure, and there's a home which is an atmosphere that you create around people.
I see. Let me now put this to you: the place of extended family in today's world. Back in the day, I grew up, knew the extended family. I still have some extended family, but it doesn't look, shall I say, fashionable or the thing to do these days. People want to live in silos and want to be on their own, wife, child, or children and husband. That's it. What's the place of extended family these days?
Well, the extended family is very, very useful today. It is pathetic that it's typically amongst some African elite and persons of African American descent who have lost that. Interestingly, you don't find that amongst Asians. You don't find that amongst the persons from Middle East. They are having family reunions that could have generations of family members at a tea party. A few individuals in Ghana here have sustained a family tradition where they bring together all persons who are associated with the family. Some host family prayer times once a year or every half of the year. Some have a reunion where they go on a trip. I know some families who do that because I facilitate sessions for some families with that regard.
Right.
Painfully, I remember the former Vice President, the late Emisata. I mean, they held a family event, and I was a guest speaker at ACP Estate with his brother and their children and many others and their friends. I mean, why would people do that? They do that because they want to sustain a certain connection. Now, we need people to appreciate that the extended family is not extinct, as many think. It is rather people who have muted its essence simply because they find themselves as enlightened or the elite of society, and therefore they just nuclearize family. The family is bigger, deeper, broader than anyone can imagine. So there's a need for us as individuals to look at ourselves and say to ourselves, well, no man is an island. Indeed, it is true, no man is an island. But you need to look at how do you engage your extended family. When my parents were alive, I mean, they were stuff for us and our daughters almost every day because our daughters had to go to school. I had to be in the office. I drive all the way from Miocho to Sotum, look at the distance. My wife had to go to Tema to work. And then we had to shuttle between who is picking who at what time. And my parents offered us that easy hand of support. And they love their grandchildren. And then the alternative support was my wife's parents, who were also in Tema, God being so good for us. So it was easy to fall on. And sometimes you go and find my sister's children there. My brother's children were there. And then they play together. You see, even though they are with their grandparents, they connect with their other relatives. And it is a natural bond that occurs. And this is blood lineage. And it's important that nobody loses that. Most of the people who have issues with the extended family, it has to be with one concern they have or the other. So, for instance, parents trying to raise their children like the way they raised them.
Right.
Not being mindful of the fact that society has changed. People have changed. Times have changed. And the trends have also changed. And so if grandparents are trying to raise your children like they raised you in a setting completely different from the setting in which you were born, you would be concerned, and therefore you would wish to retain your children away from them.
I see.
Or you come from niece or nephew or auntie or uncle who really is not gelling with you, is not connecting with you. There's no chemistry between you and them. Of course, you want to hold them in abeyance. So people need to understand that there is a need for us to first and foremost appreciate the value, the place, and the essence of the extended support system.
Okay. Now,
if we don't recognize that, it will be difficult to give it space to function.
Let me put this to you. Somebody just sent me a Bible verse, Matthew 10:36, and the King James version that he sent says, "A man's foes shall be they of his own household." If you like loosely translated, a man's enemies will be members of his own household. That's why he decides to shun away from the extended family. What do you say to this person?
Well, I mean, that would be unfortunate, because the same scripture tells us that God takes the lonely and plants them in a family. And when you look at somebody like Jacob, when he had children, he had to go and look for his father and sent his children afar off. When his father saw them coming, he asked, "Who are these?" And he said, "These are the children God gave me when I was in Egypt, and I'm bringing them to you for them to be blessed by you." And that's a father blessing. So people should not just pick one scripture out of context without relating it to the conversation that was being had and then trusting it upon themselves. It's just one. I mean, if you had told me you're going to work biblical, I would have quoted many, many more scriptures.
No, somebody just sent it, so I thought I should just patch it through to you to get your thought. But that's fine. Again, so now, where do we go from here? Because a lot of young people you speak to these days, they have either been told by their forebears or people who are managing them or older than them that, look, this extended family, our village, there are witches and wizards there. They are not good people. You have to move away from them if you want to progress and prosper and all of that. I'm sure that has come to your attention many, many different times as a life coach. What should we do in trying to renew our minds to go back to the family value system that we knew from back in the day?
So, thank you very much. You see, every individual needs to develop roots, deep roots, which are within the local system, and that comes through the norms and the forms and the narratives that we have. The norms are the traditions that are laid down. Some of them need to be modified to reflect the changing trends and the changing people. There are narratives that have been told us, some of which were not particularly exactly what it was. Some reported it in ways that favored them or made them look nicer and better so that the other party would look bad. So when you hear a narrative, you have to pause, deeply reflect about it and relate it to your life and ask yourself, can I go on with these? I have been shown people who were described as witches and later were discovered to have some mental derangement. So let's be very careful on pronouncing on who is a witch and who is not. In any case, if somebody is a witch, you can exorcise the witch from them and they'll be fine. Once you identify somebody as a witch, then you should have the capacity to exercise that spell or what you consider a bad omen from them. Now, having said that, yes, there are mean characters in the world. There are people who have evil intentions in the world. And they don't only exist within families, they also exist within the larger society. And so, in order not to become paranoid that so and so is this and that, and this is where it takes us to issues like ethnocentrism. You will discover that it runs through family lines. One person says, I don't like these kinds of people. And it runs. Mother will transmit it to child does same to their children, and it becomes generational. Now, if somebody does not question that and look at how that can be changed to reflect a more inclusive society and community where we all are interdependent in our exchanges, as I mentioned in the family, in the I, then we run the risk of collapsing the entire society. Because, see, I mean, former president of the United States, one of his breakfast events for fathers and men in Capitol Hill, he said that the vacuum created by the absence of my father is yet to be filled by society. So the society cannot replace parents. This is where parenting becomes a key thing. Parents should not fight their unfinished battles through their children. Parents should not recycle their pain through their children. And when we do that, our children will not be able to connect. Let me give you an example. When I was growing up, my father and mother, our neighbors, the one behind us, they were Ashanti. The one on our right, they were Gans. The one on our left, they were Evers. My dad worked with the two on the right and the left. But there was some issue of business, collision between my mom and the one on the right, who is a Gan.
Okay.
And so we were told not to go there to play. We were warned. But I always played football with Pani because Pani and my brother Alfred both supported Hearts of Folk, and I was Asante Kotoko. So they were always on one side against me.
You chose the wrong side, I tell you.
But on the other side is the other boy, Eric. Eric was Asante Kotoko. So between myself and Eric and Alfred and Pani, we had opposites that played.
Right.
And it just grew on. So parents should not fight their unfinished battles through their children. And it pains me when I hear some commentary thrown at other people on radio and television. And I'm very happy that just before the International Day of the Family, which the UN is also in this month of May, I'm sure you are aware of it.
That's right.
It is great that a network such as yours, which has such a wide spectrum of audience, would make the space and time to talk about family. As families go, so would the nation go. And let's look at the state of our families in the country. They are under great stress. Who will speak for the family? Policies are crafted without consideration to the various families of the nation. And unfortunately, some of the policies actually undermine the efficacy of families. And I'm very delighted to have joined you in this conversation of highlighting the importance of family. You see, the language people speak is birthed in the family. The attitudes people have is in the family. The mindset that shapes and changes people is in the family. The relationships that are brokered and built is in the family. And when we destroy family, inadvertently and invariably, we destroy the state.
I thank you very much indeed, sir, for your time. Amos Kevin Annan, always a pleasure speaking to you. He's
my honor.
With the chief servant, shall I say, of Hearts and Habits Foundation, life coach and consultant. We're grateful as always. And 8:26. Enjoy.
3FM